Hey everyone, it's November the 8th today. I'm on the road, I'm in my car as you can see probably. So I really wanted to do this recording. It's just too many things are happening in my life. It's always my most busy time. Anyway, here I am. This Great Awakening has many stages. I guess we have realized that certainly by now. It's like climbing a mountain. You think that's the peak there, that's the summit, that's how much you can see from where you are looking upward. And then you get to that place and all of a sudden there's another hump and another, and so it keeps going, and that's kind of what we see happening. It's almost like you have you could compare it also, you have a lantern, it's night, it's dark, maybe even fog. And how much can you see ahead? Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, maybe only one. But it is exactly like that, but the intensity is sensible. One can really feel it. It's starting to vibrate, I even find sometimes. Sometimes I'm just having energetic flares through my spine, and my neck is shaking because there's too much energy passing through the neck, which is kind of the bottleneck. Anyway, that's just my personal experience. So it is an amazingly dynamic time. Okay, let me first say this. It's a 5-year, 2021, 221, and it is the mirror of 2012. And many people say 2021 is the real deal. That was just the preparation. That was the test run. That's why we were given that kind of inverted prediction. Makes total sense in my opinion. So it's a 5-year, and we're in the 11th month, November. The 11 in itself is a solar number, it's a power number, it's a master number, as they say. The 11 stands for integrating the new into the old, or merging the new and the old, creating something new out of it. Is a 10, which is the existing creation, and the 1, which is the new facet of it, the new interpretation, if you want. So this is the 11, and that's in the Mayan system. They call this number the spectral energy. Spectral is dissecting white light into all its colors, showing the spectrum, showing all the ingredients, but they're separated in a way, and in that sense kind of scattered. Scattered energy too. So now if you add the 5 of the year with the month, the 11, you get the 16, the tower, the tarot, where the lightning bolt hits the tower, and if you reduce it, a 7. Now I find it super interesting. Here is the moment. Well, let me go back to the new moon chart. Okay, just give me a sec. We get to this one in a minute. Okay, that was new moon of November the 4th, and guess what? There was a big geomagnetic storm, G3 out of 5 levels, so that is a reasonably strong storm for 2 days. People could see auroras as far down as the center of the US. Here it was cloudy, so there was no chance, but yes, it was amazing photographs you can find, for example, on spaceweather.com, which is my personal go-to place for solar events, the sun's behavior, the sunspots numbers, and the flares and whatnot. It has all the up to date, to the minute, to the second, sometimes even information. So anyway, what I want to say is there was the Uranus opposition to the new moon position. The new moon actually here in the Aries dwad of Scorpio, 12:30 till 15. If we divide, for those of you new to the idea of the fractal, the dwads, that each sign contains 12 parts, which represent the zodiac in itself, so it's kind of a resonance there. So the first 2.5 degrees of each sign are purely that energy, Scorpio in this case here. Then the next 2.5 degrees are Sagittarian overtones, then from 5 to 7:30 Capricorn, and so on and so forth. So between 12:30 and 15 is Aries energy. Aries, Mars. Scorpio, Mars. Okay, Mars is here twice the ruling planet of these signs, aside from Pluto in Scorpio, which we get to. So Mars is of prime importance. Mars is in hexagram 28, preponderance of the great. That is the overbearing. It is when the river swells, when there's a flood, or as it's depicted in the I Ching hexagram, it is the beam above the door which is bending from the weight from the wall above. So it is a critical situation, and there's too much energy at once, too much chi flowing, and this is the case between 2 degrees and 7:30, which is the time roughly between the first, second till the 10th, I guess around that. It's that whole week which has that signature. I wrote a little note on that on my Facebook page. Those of you who are on Facebook, please join Celestial Rhythms. That's our community, and I'm always posting there much more than I'm doing recordings, as naturally a recording takes much more preparation. So the long story short, we had that new moon, powerful Mars energy in it, and it is opposing Uranus, and it is just shy of 7 minutes, 12:40, 12:47, so it's still closing in. That is important. When an aspect is so close, particularly, then it's like short before hitting the wall. It's short before impact. There's a buildup of intensity and of power. Whereas if it's a separating, then it's more of a release phase. Then we already have had the big event, and now we are releasing this energy and taking the conclusions, whereas we are building up right now towards the event in that sense, allegorically speaking. And I mean, that's I guess not very far-fetched. That's where we are globally, collectively. We are sensing there's a wall there coming. Something big is ahead, whatever it will be. A change, an unprecedented change, much bigger than what we already had. Either it will be the Great Reset or the Great Awakening. That's the dichotomy there. But something great. There's no question to that. It's a Jupiter year, 5. And Jupiter is in Aquarius, together with Saturn. Sure, I mean, you know that's the case, but I'm just really emphasizing that because this is the beginning of a new era, which actually technically began on November 3rd, 2020, not because so much of the elections. However, as synchronicity plays, that just shows the significance of that event, which I guess nobody denies. But on November 2nd, actually, a day prior, was the heliocentric Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. The heliocentric Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, I did a recording, I did write about that at the time. Very, very powerful. This was months ahead of the elections. It was very clear that this would be a new beginning. And it sure was, in a different way than we expected. It was the beginning of people mobilizing their personal energy and realizing that there's no top-down solution, that at the highest level we have failed there because of all the corruption in the system, which is able to bend any situation in their ways that it will appear as if they are right, as if they are doing the right thing. They have such loud voices. As we know, it's the media which are their only, last and only weapon. Once people are realizing that what they hear in the news, which I rather would call the hourly programming, yes, just update the programming to the latest version, version 10.0.7.6 or whatnot. Every hour there's a new version, slightly new, but it always ties into what has been happening, the story which has been built up before. Just think back, we had 2 weeks in March 2020, 2 weeks of social distancing. That was the promise. And then after 2 weeks, what happened? It was extended. That was the moment when I said, no, something's wrong. That's not correct. We had 2 weeks of social distancing. Everybody keeps in his home. So everybody who potentially was infectious in that sense, after 2 weeks, nobody should have been infectious anymore. That should have been passed because it was dealt with properly. Everybody was obeying, everybody understood at the time. Yes, that makes total sense. And then after 2 weeks, yeah, now I have your guess, probably about in month 18 or 19 or whatever. Anyway, so it has been built very carefully. We have to understand that these people who write the script, they have studied human psychology to such a complex, deep level that they've now all the tricks, and they are definitely doing a good job in that sense. Anyway, so this is the global chart of the new moon, and this chart in itself, I guess I will just stick to my first few most important charts, as I could go on for hours, as you know me. But what stands out is the 5th house cusp, where this new moon occurs, which is Leo energy, and at the 11th house cusp, Aquarius energy, is Uranus. And Uranus, in that sense, is in the Libra dward. So this is that by dward, the Sun and Moon in the Aries dward, and Uranus in the Libra dward. That's again from 12:30 till 15 Taurus. Excuse me. Libra dward, right. Society, partnership, relationship in a very general way, competition, or inspiration. All these words come in, and it is an energy which is extremely social, and it's of new beginnings, and that's at the source of this chart, Libra. And up at the top, the focus of consciousness, new creation, innocence. Just give it a try, do it in a different way. That's what the message is here. Uranus now at the 11th house, together with all these, I would call this a very, very difficult combination of energies. I have talked about that before. That has been ongoing pretty much since the beginning of summer. And it was actually in the aphelion chart of Earth, which was the July the 5th. Those of you who are like, you can go into my archive. I did a YouTube on that. That is a very powerful point, the aphelion. That's when the Earth is farthest away from the Sun, versus in January around the first days it is closest to the Sun. Anyway, so that is a point in space which is purely defined by Earth and the Sun alone. There's no third planet involved. It's not a triangle, because all other astrological alignments are triangles, in that sense, triangulations. We observe, for example, from Earth in which direction Jupiter and Saturn are standing, but it's always that way. There's an observer of two objects, so the only truly subjective alignment of a planet with the Sun is when it is at its closest or at its farthest in that elliptical motion all planets are on. So it's the two power points, where the energetic structure shifts as long as, for example, approaching aphelion, approaching that place where Earth is farthest away from the Sun. It's the centrifugal forces which are having the lead. They're stronger. They're still pulling Earth farther and farther out into space, and then at that critical moment when the ceiling is hit, then the gravitational forces again start having the upper hand, till again a half year later, when then Earth would be at its closest, and that's the moment when all of a sudden the centrifugal forces, the Earth has reached such a momentum, has built up so much potential energy that now it's kinetically released again. So these are power points. So I have been here going a little off topic, but this is important to understand, that at that time, in early July, then this started really budding, showing itself that this was the theme of the next 6 months, and it sure is. Very difficult, I said right away. This is the passageway. This is the dark night of the soul for society. Good news is, by January 2 or 3, I guess it's second, when Earth then will be closest to the Sun, when a reset will happen, and this will look so much better. So it is really between now, we're just getting really into the intense battle, so to say, the battle of freeing ourselves, humanity, from our oppressors. It is roughly November 15 to February 15, when the hot period will be. We have to brace for serious fighting. So let me just show you now a few charts. So, okay, let's just stay here though one more minute with this chart. So a day earlier, actually, now I'm bringing in another level here of information, which I'm using, those of you who are new to me, which is the human design system. Okay, let's just get there for a second. So on November the 3rd, Venus changed hexagrams and activated hexagram 10. Enter the first line of 10. So 20 and 34, that is that channel which is defined by the lunar nodes in that first and second degree of Sagittarius and Gemini, which is 4.5 months that connection is activated, and that is called charisma. Now what we're looking at here is the graph of the human form's electromagnetic firing. That is an archetype. We all are having that basic wiring within us. It's like a chip, a basic energetic connection between spirit and matter. And there's different variations naturally. So it's the 9 centers. It's basically the 7 chakras, whereas one chakra is polarized, the 3rd, and then there's a new one here, which is the G center, which is the spot where you're observing the whole show from, which is kind of between heart and throat. Okay, Venus in 10. Early Capricorn, late Sagittarius, it is that overlapping. It's one of the 4 cardinal hexagrams. Treading, as its I Ching name. Treading means the art of presentation, doing it the right way, very stage conscious, knowing how to say things with the awareness how they will be received. So Venus, okay, you immediately see Venus ties into this long-standing connection of charisma between September 4 and January 18. I right away said this must be the window of the big shift, because this is anchoring ourselves in nature. That's basically what it is. It's the sacral center connecting directly with the throat, the manifestation center. It's dreaming reality into form. Through September and October we had the connection here with 57, which was Mercury here 3 times activating this gate, and that was the time of realization of our powers and of seeing through the scheme, I would call it. It was really the most eye-opening times were September 11 to 17, then October 6 to 16, and October 25 to 30. You can go back into the archive. I did 2 recordings on that. And now this same energy is how shall I say that, is managed by Venus. I guess that's the best way to say it, because this is a force of nature, you could say. This connection is a force of nature. It's called charisma. And what is charisma? It is a radiance which is so strong that everything around it falls in place. It's like a magnet. If you put a magnet in the room and then you whatever spray, like this kind of famous physics experiment, you pour dust of iron around the magnet, and then you see the magical formation of the field lines of the particles assembling on the field lines. That's kind of what charisma is. It's having that magnetism, which everything around it will just have to obey its power, and in a non-intrusive way, because it just finds its resonance points, whatever is around. It's really it's a beautiful experiment. Maybe you want to do it just for a meditation. Get a magnet, get some iron dust, and do it yourself. It's quite magical. So Venus now harnesses this energy between November the 3rd and the 9th. And I don't have the chart here up, but I show you in small here. That's what it looked like. Venus transiting 2815 Sagittarius. That is the most important degree, aside from the 0 degrees, I think, because this is really the hidden cardinal axis. I show you. Just give me a sec. See, here is hexagram 10, 2815. That's actually from my old website, and it's lots of resources there. I have all the breakdowns of the degrees, those of you who are interested. Hexagram 10, treading, the art of performance, the art of presentation. Venus comes in, Venus takes the case over, and Venus at that time, when this degree was exact, was exactly in midheaven, in Greenwich, at the 0 meridian, in conjunction with Juno, which is partnership, teamwork, at the galactic center 2707. I mean, it's I should really quickly open this chart in big. It's worth it. Here we go. It's such another powerhouse. So this was Venus taking on this role of leading the pack in a way. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening now. We had these huge demonstrations of police officers and health care personnel and firefighters in many cities. In Toronto yesterday was a big event, and then I came across this one. I want to really share this with you quickly. It's worth it. It's just unbelievable what's going on. This is I just let you listen to her for a second.
You guys, it's happening. Kaiser Permanente just submitted their 10-day strike notice. November 15th, 7 a.m. 32,000 nurses and healthcare professionals will be walking out, and a possible 8,000 more in Hawaii. This is across multiple facilities throughout multiple states. At least 32,000 nurses and healthcare workers will be walking out November 15th. Strike's giving. This is unprecedented. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you that voted overwhelmingly to strike, 96%.
Yep, here we go. Yep, we're in the final phase. It is happening, guys. We had to wait. We had to build it up to that point because we have learned a lot over the last 2 years for sure. And there's this saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and we definitely have gotten stronger many ways. build new strategies. So through more layers of deception, we're able to connect more the dots. So, okay, what does this mean? Venus, Juno at the galactic center, it really shows, okay, you guys cannot divide us any longer. 26 states have put a court case against the administration's mandatory vaccines. 26 states, that's the majority, 3 of them governed by Democrats. The division between left and right is no more working. They also cannot really play out vaccinated against unvaccinated. Not working. There's no real dividing line anymore, as it was when President Trump was, and maybe that was one of the main reasons he was it's a greater story. It's not that he was deciding to do that, but he understood maybe that it was not a bad thing to do it that way, because it would take the wind out of the sail. So we are united with that Pisces ascendant. Then with Neptune, let's see what's playing here. Okay, that's quite interesting. Okay, wild moments at sea. What a coincidence when we talk about Neptune. Yes, I guess it's wild vibes. So Neptune is in the Scorpionic dot, by the way. Makes that lots of sense. Very deep and convoluted waters right now. Lots and lots of complex deceits going on, and mirrors within mirrors, halls of mirrors. The ascendant then is in the... Actually, yes, it's still into Scorpionic dot. All Scorpionic, very Scorpionic. Okay, this is just at the beginning. Now we are building. Just within that window of that extreme geomagnetic storm, which I mentioned around New Moon, the Sun then enters hexagram 1 at 13 degrees and 15 minutes Scorpio. Just let me zoom back here quickly. And we go here to the... Okay, that is hexagram 1. Here you have it. 6 yang lines between 13:15 and 18:52:30. Scorpio, the heart of Scorpio, hexagram 1. How much sense that does make. The purely creative force of the heavens. Very fiery, very intense, unforgiving in a way. And Earth on the other side receiving with hexagram 2. It's always beautiful to see these pairs. Here we have then hexagram 2, the 6 yin lines. So anyway, the Sun entered this area of the zodiac on the 4th of November. The purely creative force of heavens, and Earth in hexagram 2 on the other side, purely in receptive mode. And what is the chart showing here for Greenwich? It's just really epic. We could have seen this hundreds of years ago if we had the computers we have today, able to calculate the exact equations of all the planets, then do what we have here with this astrology program. With this program I can look exactly at the chart like this in 300 years and 500 years and 1000, actually the charts are said to be within great accuracy range for 5000 years plus minus. So anyway, just this is a thought I throw in here, which probably shows that there's some greater plan, that there's no coincidence, as we say, it's all synchronicity, and the planets and the stars, these are just mirrors in a way, as they occur synchronous, and in that sense it is the most accurate mirror. However, each symbol has many levels, and it only in the aftermath usually it gets clear. So this is just amazing. Mars here in midheavens, and Venus and Juno rising. So in other words, it's happening. Humanity is uniting against its oppressors. It's happening. There's no question. Okay, it gets better. It gets better. It's just, I would call it 3 phases here in November. We have the first phase leads up to the 9th, 10th round, and I tell you why. And then we get into the quite a bit of an upgrade. Mars will enter Scorpio heliocentrically on the 10th. Let's just get there. Okay, one sec. So, but before we are there, today, Monday, as I do this recording, Pallas had its station back to direct motion. Pallas here in Pisces has been moving backwards for the last, 4 or 5 months, has tracked back here over Neptune, over Nessus, Oquiroi, which was kind of a recognizing, an analytical recognizing of the depths of deception, of the complexity of how this evil force has managed to fool us. Pallas is very intellectual, very analytical. Art, science, it is the ability to think in abstract terms. So Pallas turning direct, and now again visiting for a 3rd time Oquiroi, which is basically an amplifier. Nessus, all the pathological energies in our world in a nutshell. And Neptune, the double mirror. Neptune is probably the most critical in the awakening, and I will show you why. It is literally to understand what you see, that what you see is a reflection, and it is not. And through the reflection, in a way, you can then see if you are able to extend your focus behind the picture. It's kind of, you have to think of it, you have something close by here, a screen, and now you're looking through the screen and seeing what is behind it. That's how it will have to happen. So Neptune is crucially important, and it shows up in many ways. Neptune is in its own sign since 2011. It will be in here till 2025, 26. So in a way, all things Neptune are extremely exaggerated right now in these 15 years. So much so that things get so much into our face, so much tangible, that we are starting to see through them and not be deceived by them anymore. It is, it's a powerful time. There's no question to that. Anyway, the moment Pallas turns direct, always, I just want to show here a few more things in this chart. Moon-Venus conjunction here now, together with Quaoar and Pholus. Pholus, very important. Pholus has to do with that moment when, after a long pondering and getting ready and hesitating, that's the moment when Pholus comes in, says, okay, now let's do it. I've been preparing for a long time. Quaoar is an original thinker, a creator in itself, the moon here. The moon representing the people, always in a mundane chart, very much so the collective mood. Black moon and Ceres here at the descendant, again that difficult group of four, of hidden secrets and mysteries and dark truth from other realities based on other ways of looking at reality. Setna can be extremely dark. So is the black moon, is the collective shadow. Ceres, about our connection to Earth, but also our connection to love and unconditional love and nurturing. And naturally the lunar node is the one which pulls us to look in that direction. Again, this is the theme of these 6 months, and it is again very emphasized here in this Pallas station, which in a way lays the foundation for how Pallas will be experienced over the next 7 months or so. That is the heliocentric chart of that same moment. I found that interesting that again we have Venus here strongly placed now here at the 4th house cusp heliocentrically in conjunction with Chiron. Chiron, Venus, healing of emotional wounds and going new ways, being a pioneer, all that Aries energy again. And Mercury at that point, Mercury very important in terms of Pallas because they are having a similar frequency. Pallas again here in the heliocentric chart at that moment when it turned direct as seen from Earth. Heliocentric, by the way, is the pure energetic level. That is, you could imagine, it's the photons, the light particles, the X-rays, whatever is coming our way from the sun every moment, takes 8 minutes to come here, nourishing us. That's the food we are living from. That's the basic energy, the unmanifest, and then we give it form in the geocentric perception. It's all about perception, shows it really clearly. Astrology is wonderful in that sense. Truth is something else. Truth, in that sense, if you change your position, your truth will be appearing differently. That's basically what it says. So we are just here on Earth looking at the universe from our perspective, and that's our perception and that's our truth. But if you go to Venus or to Saturn and look from there, everything is very different, even though it's the same universe, it's the same solar system. So Mercury here at 0 Libra in conjunction with Hygeia, beautiful, beautiful, I say. this has to do with healing of our of our interpretation of reality, I should say. Mercury is about interpretation. It's Mercury is the one who creates a story out of what is experienced. It's perception verbalized in a way. Hygiene, health, well-being, and also serendipity, being at the right moment at the right time. Beautiful chart again, and this is just, you see, sequence within days. So we're really building a story here. Now, as we go tomorrow, it will be, as from that moment when I'm recording this, Mars enters Scorpio heliocentrically. Here. It's again the heliocentric chart as seen from the Sun. You have to think the Sun is in the middle here. Earth is here in that chart. And Mars is here at 0 Scorpio. And it is on the global ascendant. That's just a parallel transportation, if you want, of transference of that moment as experienced on Earth in Greenwich at the 0 meridian at 51 degrees and 26 minutes or 29 minutes north of the equator, which is 1/7 of a circle. 5126 is the exact septile. So this is a power spot. That's why there have been ancient stone circles and all kinds of archaeological finds in that area of England particularly, but all over England, as England is in that first degrees of the zodiac, if you want. Just think of all the crop circles which are every year happening in that country. Anyway, I'm again getting off subject here. Okay, Mars, Scorpio, on the ascendant, Scorpio. I guess this already says it all. And then Saturn. How about that? For that time when Mars is in Scorpio heliocentrically, which will be probably about 6 weeks. For the next 6 weeks, yes, this is business. We're getting something accomplished here. This is looking serious. Saturn is the prosecutor, the one who comes with the warrant, the one who brings the handcuffs and says to here and no farther. So it's getting a bit dark here, but I guess, well, it is what it is. Okay, next chapter. Saturn changes hexagrams. Okay, this is another big one. Hexagram 19, approach. Saturn here has been already moving through this hexagram earlier this year, then turning retrograde somewhere around the 13th degree here, and now is going back into this territory again of hexagram 19. Okay, let me quickly show you here in this chart again. Hexagram 19, that is here from 7:37:30 to 13 degrees 15 of Aquarius. That's the structure of the hexagram, if you can see it, and I opened that because this is a powerful change in how Saturn will express itself. It's the sign of spring, in a way, approach. So the Chinese word Lin, which is the name of this hexagram, has a range of meanings that is not exhausted by any single word of another language. Just made it a little smaller so you can read it too. That my image is not in the way. Okay. The ancient explanation in the Book of Changes give as its first meaning becoming great. Saturn becoming great. Keep that in mind. What becomes great are the two strong lines growing into the hexagram from below. The light-giving power expands with them. The meaning is then further extended to include the concept of approach, especially the approach of what is lower. Finally, the meaning includes the attitude of condescension of a man in high position toward the people, and in general the setting to work on affairs. This hexagram is linked with the 12th month, January-February, when after the winter solstice the light power begins to ascend again. Okay, well, the first part here is really important. It is becoming great, and it is that power of spring, that uprising male yang energy expanding. This will be on for the next few months. Again, a longer period. Now, what is important in this chart, I find, is Huya. Huya is going through a therapy. That's the meaning of it. It's looking back and owning the past, understanding that there's a reason for where we are now, and nothing is wrong with the past in a way, because it is the seed out of which this great awakening is possible, is becoming possible. So in a way, by realizing that it's like a pyramid, you're building the next layer of evolution on what has come before. It is honoring the past in a way, and forgiving it and letting it go. And so it is that process of remembering, of going back and revisiting, reliving it, maybe even. As those of you who have experience with that, if you go into a hypnotic state, induced, that's what the psychologist may do, lead you back to the moment when the trauma happened, and then you relive it with all the intensity. But with a different consciousness. Because you bring the consciousness from where you are now, you transport it back, so you see your 3-year-old self in all these extreme emotions which you're experiencing in that moment again, of reliving it, of going back, time traveling in that sense. But you're seeing it with your present day consciousness, and in that sense you're transcending it. That's what the whole meaning is of reliving, of going back, and that's Huya. So Huya is that kind of energy, and with Saturn, so it's really existence works very carefully right now. We're in extreme territory. These are the most powerful 3 months of your whole life. we will remember this time. This will go down in history. Okay. Saturn changing hexagrams, and just a few hours later, Mercury-Mars conjunction, the third one. Mercury had this loop forth and back, so this is the final one again for Greenwich in hexagram 28 again, preponderance of the greatest. This is a loud voice. This is taking on the dispute. Okay, these are the terms. And squaring the ascendant, descendant, and Mars, Moon Saturn conjunction in hexagram 19. Nevertheless, all three. This is a really calling the tariff. Now we're telling you that's what we are allowing. It's the line in the sand. Here's the line in the sand. That's really what this chart says. So that's what we now see happening, like these 40,000 nurses most likely and healthcare professionals stepping out of the job. Anyway, I just will add one or two charts more and then I stop for now for this recording. It's getting anyway dark. You probably still kind of see me in the glow of the screen, I guess. But then on the 11th, that is really then when the gear shifts into the higher level. I mean, it's been a kind of it's really an acceleration beyond reason. So we see, if we go back here, it was today Pallas changing direction, then heliocentric Mars, Scorpio ingress, then Saturn changing its tone, its way of expressing itself, and then we have the moment of truth, of exclamation, of proclamation of our terms. Again, very interesting. Also, this here again, this group of four here at the fourth house cusp, grouped around Uranus at the beginning of the, just shy of the cusp of the third house of communication and information flow. Could be some, most likely, I guess not just could be, most likely there will be some big revelations thrown into public, which I have predicted and which is happening really by the day. Every day there's something else big, and naturally the news media is not reporting it, but there will come the time when they cannot deny things anymore because it's becoming so clear. And actually it's happening increasingly. So this is Mercury-Mars conjunction with a Aquarius rising and a Sag midheaven. Freedom, truth and freedom, that's Sagittarius. And the first quarter moon just a day later. You see almost the same geometry, same signs, same energies. So in a way it says this Mercury-Mars energy will be very loud for at least 7 days. That's what the first quarter moon is. It is that initiation of the second 7 days of the month between the waxing half moon and the full moon then on the 19th. Well, I will leave it at this. Thanks again for joining and listening. If you got anything out of it, just share it, recommend it, and give it a like. Okay. Thanks, guys. Love you guys.